everybody coming out today, calling for justice and freedom of Ronnie Long immediately. We're especially here today at the governor's mansion, calling for immediate action from Governor Roy Cooper to go ahead and sign clemency and let Ronnie Long come home to his family and friends. So here we are 44 years later. We will still be calling for justice until he comes home. We have people that come from Winston, Greensboro, all of North Carolina to free Ronnie Long. Let's affirm it now. Free Ronnie Long!
Free Ronnie Long!
Free Ronnie Long!
Free Ronnie Long!
Bring Ronnie home!
Bring Ronnie home!
Here we stand once again in an all too familiar gathering directly across the street from a mansion occupied by a man who has the power and the authority to commute the sentence of yet another black man who has unequivocally declared his innocence to a crime he is accused of committing. I stand here today to reveal the painful fact that it is appalling to justice that in these unprecedented days of COVID-19, that Ronnie Wallace Long is still behind bars due to some patently false statements that a state's attorney characterizes as inaccurate rather than outright false and dishonest lies and deceit. And to me, what is even more horrific is that when you dress it up in the 163-year-old context of the 1857 Dred Scott decision, widely considered the worst decision straight out of the highest court in the land. So high, in fact, that we called that court supreme, that declared that a black man has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. You come away knowing that something has been drastically and woefully wrong in our halls of justice, in our courts of law, in our streets of society, and in our world for far too long.
That's right. Amen.
Yet so much of our time is spent these days trying to convince ourselves that black life matters. I've come to beg an answer to the question, well, what about Ronnie's life? For more than 44 long years, Ronnie's life has not mattered. And just last month, this innocent man had to endure the death of his mother, Elizabeth Gibson Long, whose last words to Ronnie's sisters were, "Is Ronnie home?" This gathering is an obscene and glaring indictment that systemic racism, structural classism, mass incarceration, and slave-based institutionalism continue to live on and on with their Ku Klux knees hard pressed into the necks of the black, brown, and poor white residents across this state.
Come on now.
In the words of Judge James Wynn, what is it about us that want to prosecute and keep people in jail when we know evidence that exists that might lead to a different conclusion? Why do we invest so much time framing innocent black men for crimes they did not commit? The premise of framing an innocent man is you have to turn inside out or flip the script on the basic premise of our criminal justice system. Innocent until proven guilty. But this criminal justice system has rendered far too many African Americans guilty until they prove themselves innocent and suspect of any and all crimes committed in society. Down through the years, we've watched this type of framing over and over again. It was the reality of the late Darrell Hunt, a black man held guilty and charged in a prison and caged in a prison for 19 years until he was proven innocent. It has been the reality of Glenn Edward Chapman, a black man held guilty and caged in a prison for 14 years until he was proven innocent. It was the reality of the late Lamont Armstrong, a black man held guilty and caged in a prison for 17 years until he was proven innocent. It was the reality of Dante Sharp, a black man who was held guilty and caged in a prison for nearly 25 years until he was proven innocent. So allow me to give a shout out to the masterful God-sent attorneys, Jamie Lau, Teresa Newman, James Coleman, and their staff for working arduously to prove the innocence of folk who are innocent and further substantiate that indeed black lives matter. There was a season when we cried, "Free Darrell Hunt." A season when we cried, "Free Dante Sharp." In this season, we come crying, "Free Ronnie Long." Free Ronnie Long. He has suffered cruel and unusual punishment for far too long for a conviction that rests on an uncertain and shaky ground. Ronnie deserves to become an example of North Carolina's commitment to justice and righteousness, rather than an example of the state's unwillingness to reflect on its past.
That's right.
Why is it that North Carolina resists doing the right thing? The problem is we use procedural rules and we use our own court-made rules to avoid justice. Governor Cooper, we stopped by to compel you to stop peering through the political periscope that prevents direct line of sight observation and pick up the moral microscope that will help you see clearly what your physical eye is refusing to see. There are numerous issues that undercut the case on which the state secured Ronnie's conviction. Neither Ronnie's defense nor the jury knew that 43 fingerprints were found at the scene.
That's right.
None of which matched Ronnie's fingerprints.
Come on.
Let me say that one more time.
Yes.
Neither Ronnie's defense nor the jury knew that 43 fingerprints were found at the scene. None.
None.
I said none of which matched Ronnie's fingerprints.
That's right.
Nor did they know the prosecution possessed an untested rape kit. Furthermore, the victim's identification of Ronnie was obtained through leading techniques.
That's right.
And his appearance was inconsistent with her initial description.
That's right.
Ronnie was granted a hearing before the touching down of COVID-19 that has effected a new hell for marginalized people to navigate their way through.
Yeah.
Over in Albemarle Correctional is a man now experiencing another pronounced and disastrous hardship. Not only is Ronnie behind walls he doesn't deserve to be behind, but he sits behind those walls, vulnerable and victimized to the probabilities that he could be be the next case confirmed with COVID-19.
Speak the truth.
Much of the reason that the NAACP, the North Carolina NAACP, is fighting so hard to make the state do the right thing for those incarcerated is because of Ronnie Wallace Long.
Woo! Yes, thank you.
He is held without the basic protections that the state has mandated to the larger society, which is where Ronnie should and would be had the structure of a capitalistic society not turned in on us. Free Ronnie Long. Governor Cooper, you have the power to right a 44-year-old wrong and begin moving this state toward some healing.
Yes.
You, sir, are about to go down in history as the first governor in this state who has not commuted a sentence, has not granted clemency, or offered a pardon in more than 40 years.
There you go.
I can assure you that if Ronnie lives and is not set free before the November 3rd, 2020 election, and the people of North Carolina re-elect you to lead us, that we will not rest unless your first act is to commute Ronnie Long's sentence and set Ronnie free. You, sir, have resisted continually, giving pardons, commuting sentences, and granting clemency. You, hear me, sir, who the African American community put into office, deeply believing you were committed to our cause. To date, you have not one commutation to your credit. And it appears you have no intention of atoning for past wrongs committed by the state or assuming historical responsibility to anyone, especially any black man who has suffered under the banner of this state. Worse than delaying justice is ignoring justice. The willful and deliberate delaying of justice where a miscarriage of justice has occurred is without doubt among the highest of crimes that a human being can commit. Why? Because first of all, it is a crime against the will of God, proving that too many claiming to walk with him are not in lockstep with his perfect will. There is a vast difference in going to church and having the church inside of you. Secondly, it is that the magnitude of suffering upon humanity that delayed justice creates can never ever be rectified. It is really quite trite to say justice delayed is justice denied. It goes far deeper than that. It's more appropriate to say that justice delayed is criminal. Justice delayed is inhumane. And justice delayed is immoral. The failure to deliver justice on time will always have a deleterious effect on the lives of all parties, especially the party aggrieved. Notwithstanding, it will always lead to further deterioration of fundamental rights. Governor Cooper, you, sir, are flunking justice. You have the authority to free Ronnie Long. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Governor Cooper, you are failing mercy. You have the power to free Ronnie Long, administer justice, and show some mercy. Governor Cooper, do you have the will to follow justice? When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to the evildoers. Governor Cooper, it's time to let justice roll on like a river and righteousness run down like a never-failing stream. Governor Cooper, we've come to appeal to you to free Ronnie Long. Free Ronnie Long. Free Ronnie Thank you.